Hello and welcome to episode 270 of the 77 Club. Harry, start with the socials.
All 77 Club on Facebook and Instagram, at 77 Club Podcast on Twitter or X, and we're also on TikTok now. We've got 30 followers. If you want to follow us on there, go for it.
Dan Bayliss is here.
Hello, what's a TikTok?
And back from his holiday is Jack Williams.
Hello, everybody. Wasn't on holiday, but you just changed the day or the week we do this, and it screws me over. So,
okay. Well, look, let's get into it. Harry, let's start with the team. I think you pretty much called it. Listening back to last week's episode, Sarr in goal, Ait-Nouri, Totti Gomez, Mosquera made his Premier League debut, Doherty right back, Lamina, João Gomez, Rodrigo Gomez, Bellegarde, Hwang, and a debut for Strand Larsen as well. We didn't expect much from the game in terms of results, and the betting odds certainly reflected that last week. Pretty comfortable in the end 2-0 win for Arsenal.
Yeah, but for me, it was a much better performance than I expected that would be put on. And I mentioned last week, I think he might throw Bellegarde in the midfield just to pack it out that little bit more, because the 4-2-3-1 against Rayo Vallecano looked quite weak defensively. So, yeah, called that one. And first half, we did a lot of defending, didn't we? Had that great chance from Larsen's header. But second half, we had a really long spell of possession and we were on top for quite a while before they got the second. And on another day, we could have nicked a draw. So to go to the Emirates first game and to match them for a large portion of the game, I actually thought it was a really good performance, and it surprised me. Gary O'Neill got his tactics spot on. We just lacked that cutting edge.
Bayliss, it was a little bit unlucky, I think. Cunha, you probably expecting to put that chance away, but I mean, it was the save from Raya at 1-0, which was just incredible, and you just think, oh God, it's just not going to go in today, is it?
Yeah, that was my exact what I was about to say. It was Arsenal came out on the front foot and did exactly what we expected. And they did play some lovely football, but then they'd run it off the back line or create a half chance out of it. They did deserve their lead, totally, but that is one hell of a save. I was right behind it. And when you see someone go up for a header and you're like, oh, we've scored here. I don't know how it went in the other direction and not in the back of the net. I fancy we'd have got a result if that had gone in. The game would have then flown up, gone our way. So I was pretty happy with it, given that we lost 2-0.
it's funny that you just say that, Dan, because obviously you were at the opposite end to us, weren't you, before where the away fans are. But when that header, that Strand Larsen header was hit, it seems just like floating midair, like the Matrix for a second. And we all started celebrating because we were like, that's in. No way is that being pulled out. But then from nowhere, it just seemed he must have got his hand to it, and it just looked like it just stopped in midair. And then obviously he pounces on it. But it was just a strange one, because obviously when you're at the opposite end of the pitch, you just can't really see the depth of how it's actually materialising. But yeah, as soon as it left his head, I thought goal straight away. But it's just one of those things. It's a great save, to be fair to him.
Harry, you said on the podcast you'd be having kittens at times with Totti Gomez this season. I think I had about 10 litters in the end. If you had to say to me which one of these centre-backs making their Premier League debut, it certainly wouldn't have been. It certainly would have been him that I would have probably guessed.
Good. To be perfectly honest, I'll fill in then.
Yeah, go.
I didn't think we defended particularly well in the middle, but that was to be expected, given that it was a pulled together back line. Mosquera is an absolute shithouse, which I love. Yeah. The Arsenal fans were really really shaken, and they were baying for blood with him, which is fantastic. So long may it continue. You can shit out like that.
Do you think that he got away with it? Because when I was seeing the replay of when he sort of did the awkward fall onto Kai Havertz, Jack, and he ended up with his hand around his neck and a straight arm, and I thought there's no way that's not a red, but massively got the benefit of the doubt somehow.
Yeah, I think he got away with it. He just played it quite well, didn't he? I think he put his hand up to apologise because he was saying, look, I just fell over here. And that was why the referee didn't give it, because he was saying, obviously we know it's a bit of the dark arts, really. He knew what he was doing and he knew where his hand was going. He was just trying to leave something on there, but quite subtly. I'm hoping it means with VAR that they're not getting as involved in these sorts of things this season. Because there was a few things that they called out, wasn't there? Because there was a shirt pull by Ait-Nouri, I think, which could have, by letter of the law, could have been seen as a penalty. And obviously, Mascara as well. But hopefully it means they are just leaving this a little bit to the referee to actually officiate. And I'm okay with that. But I agree. I think Mascara did well, really, considering it's, his first proper start for Wolves, despite joining a few years ago. Yeah, I remember when he first came in, and he looked really, really lively in pre-season. He was doing really, really well. And then obviously, unfortunately, got injured quite quickly, didn't he? But yeah, overall, I think you can't really fault it. But we do need to strengthen in that department. We do need a centre-back. But to echo kind of what Harry was saying just about the overall performance, I was really actually quite pleased. I walked away like, okay, we've lost, but we've gone to probably, if not the hardest, but the second hardest, definitely away ground in the Premier League, straight at the back this season, where we are still at least one player short, maybe two in our squad. And we've come out the second half particularly, and actually ever since really they scored, they deserved to go in front. They were all over us. I agree with that. But I think we came out and just really, had a go. We didn't have loads of chances, but we had some decent ones. And up until their second goal, which I think killed us then, we put up a really good fight. And I think Cunha's chance was also probably the turning point, because he's got more quality to do better than that. And even if he doesn't take the shot on, he's got to find a player or do something about it. And we know he's better than that. He notices that he's better than that. But overall, I was quite pleased, because I was quite worried going into it, to be honest, particularly given the performance last week and given that we know, as I said, that we're a player or two short still. And we've got a very difficult start. It's quite a daunting start on paper, isn't it? So if you're a player looking at that, I think O'Neill's done a good job to get them, not just to be scared and fold and fall over straight away, particularly when you go 1-0 down away at Arsenal. So I was really pleased with the response. And I'm hoping it's definitely something to build on. And there was a few occasions, as we all saw, where we were just a little bit asleep still probably, and Arsenal just played a bit too quickly, or they turned over the ball and we didn't get back quickly enough. But there's things to work on there. And yeah, as I said, overall, I was, it was a nice day in the sun. It was a nice few beers, and I was quite pleased with the performance. And Wolves fans don't really mind as long as we go and have a go, and we did that. So I was pleased.
I mean, one positive we didn't touch on, Rodrigo Gomez. I thought he was great. No one's really spoken about him. I haven't seen a lot on social media or any sort of chat, but he wanted to get hold of the ball. He came back and took it. He passed reasonably well. He wanted to beat his man. Yeah, he made a couple of errors, but on the whole, for a young kid, I like the look of him.
Do you second that, Harry? We'll try and bring Harry back in now. Obviously, it's not the easiest game in the world to be thrown into for Rodrigo Gomez. But he, like Dan said, he seemed to have done his job well and getting used to the Premier League.
I thought he was quite quiet on the day, from my point of view. I watched the game on a stream. He did some good moments, but for me, I think he could have been a lot more involved. He didn't have that much to do. He had a few runs, a few crosses, but apart from that, not much to report.
It's a bit of a baptism of fire, though. Like going away to the Emirates in your first game, like he's never going to have 50 touches.
We defended a lot, weren't we? So
yeah,
probably why he didn't have many
when he got it.
Touches.
Yeah, when he got it, I thought he was pretty good. He wanted to take people on, which I really like from a winger. So hopefully he gets to do it.
I think Doc was underrated. Doherty had a great game against Martinelli. I thought he was quite underrated, his performance. I was really worried about him, but he was brilliant, Doherty.
Yeah, I agree. Well, what do you reckon, Jack? Because obviously you'd expect Smaida to come back in once he's back from suspension, but there's still 2 more games before that happens. Is he a shoe-in to keep that position on the right-hand side?
Yeah, I think so for now, really. I do obviously, like you say, once Semaido's back, and Semedo is a player that we're going to miss these first 3 games. And it's one of those where you kind of forget that he was suspended because it's last season, don't you? But yeah, it's unfortunate. But yeah, I can't really fault anyone too much on the day. I think Rodrigo Gomez, like you say, he looks sharp in pre-season. He did a few good runs. So, one that stood out was, a very good run, but there wasn't that end product quite there. But it's his first game, so there's definitely something in there. And as I said, it's the first game against a team that's, going to be very near the top come the end of the season, and a very difficult place to go. Historically, a place where we don't do very well, let's be honest. But yeah, so I can't fault it too much, to be honest. And it's one of these where there's definitely, as I said, stuff to build on there, and there's nobody really I'd call out as actually doing too badly. I know you're saying like Strand Larsen didn't do very much. Do you think he was at fault for the first goal? Do you think, or the second one?
First one, yeah, he was all at sea.
Do you think?
Flapping all at sea for the first one. Yeah.
He's flapping at sea, but then Mosquera just loses man completely. And, it's a free header basically at the end as soon as Saka goes in on his left foot. And so, yeah, I don't want to pick too much fault because I think we're being a bit harsh. But even like Strand Larsen for that header, I think he does everything right there. He does everything perfectly. I know he wasn't in the game too much apart from that.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what he has to do. And it's just been pulled out by an unfortunate save. And yeah, I don't want to go on too hard first game of the season because we've been guilty of that on the pod in the past, like overreacting a little bit. But I think given the expectation and given what we're up against, I'm, as I said before, I'm quite pleased.
Yeah, Jack, it's one of those things that because we had two, not inexperienced, but haven't played together a hell of a lot, team centre-backs. That run is a classic cut across the front of the defender's run. And I think an experienced centre-back sees it coming and outmuscles them or goes with them. Against two sort of novices, it's just a nice way to score a goal. He knew exactly what he was doing, Havertz, to get in front of them. It was just a good header. But if we can get in an old experienced Premier League experienced centre-back to go play with one of those two, or Dawson comes back in, I think that isn't a goal most of the time.
Harry, I suppose the context and the wider context definitely helps to have a look at in these sort of scenarios. And when you think that taking, really just a small handful of points out of an available 30 last 10 games of the season, coming into this, the form isn't great. However, things do look a little bit better.
Yeah, I think it's 1 win in 11, isn't it now for O'Neill? But yeah, the tactical setup was spot on and the performance was really good. We played like that all season. We're not going down at all. Even without Dawson on the pitch, Cunha come on. Obviously, it's weird seeing Pedence come on, by the way. I weren't expecting that. But yeah, maybe bring Dawson in for Toti Gomez because he was very shaky against Chelsea. But yeah, really positive performance, and we'll beat a lot of teams in the Premier League playing like that.
AWWFCA says, is Jack wearing that top as a bet? No, he's just a child at heart. His childhood band's top, that is bright pink. Is it an Entikari thing?
So this is the brand new St Albans City away top, which I've never been to St Albans, but here it's a nice place, and it's sponsored by one of my favourite bands, Entikari. So yes, I said I wasn't going to buy a Wolves shirt this season. I'm not buying one of those. So instead, I thought support non-league football, and I spent 55 quid on one of these instead. So
£55.
There you go, Jeff. I think it was 55 quid, yeah.
Wow. Unbelievable.
So no, it's not a joke. Not a joke.
No,
it's
it's serious. Right, okay. Let's move on to Chelsea preview. Harry, I mean, they are the joke club at the moment, aren't they? I mean, everyone's talking about Chelsea, not exactly in a positive way, namely their fans as well. We've lost 6 out of the last 9 Premier League home games so far in 2024, winning 3 with no side in the league losing more. Only lost 4 out of our 20 league games at Molineux in the whole of 2023. So as a calendar year, not looking great. Though we did do the double over Chelsea last season.
Yeah, and they're don't know what's going on with them. Sterling not even training with them. Like they've got about 1 million players. They lost their opening game, albeit against Man City, but it's a game that I low-key fancy us to get something in. If we play like we did against Arsenal, I think we've got a chance. They've got amazing individual players, but if they can't get on to click, I think we can take them, and we did last season. So, we've done it before, and let's hope the Molineux crowd can get behind us, and we can do it again, and hopefully Neto has a quiet game as well. So I just seen he got the number 7 shirt off Sterling, didn't he, as well?
As Harry just mentioned there, Bayliss, I think Maresca was in press conference today saying it's between 15 and 20 players at Chelsea that are training away from the first team who are part of the technical first team. So he's almost playing with 2 squads at the moment. Is this a good time to play Chelsea? They seem to be just all over the place at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the game at Stamford Bridge last year that Jack and I went to, that's one of the best Wolves away performances I think I've seen. We absolutely battered them, but Cunha had a day out. So, yeah, Chelsea fans I've spoken to this week, obviously they're disheartened by the fact they got done by City and didn't play very well. But I think we'll get something out of the game. There you go. Said it now.
What do you reckon, Jack? I mean, a lot of that 4-2 win at Stamford Bridge was down to a certain Pedro Neto. Let's face it. So, what do you reckon?
I don't know. It's I don't want to think the worst automatically, but you kind of do, don't you? So, with regards to what's going on at Chelsea, I mean, it's just they've been a bit of a shambles, haven't they, for the last few years? Really, ever since Abramovich left, like it's been a bit of a just a continuous flow of overspending on players that end up underperforming, and then you can't seem to get off the books. When when they're on high wages, they don't want to leave. And obviously, I don't think if Neto stays fit, I don't think he'll be the case for that because he's a talent. But one of the issues they've got with Neto is he's probably earning 3 or 4 times the wage Wolves were paying him, and you know very well he could be injured and out for the season just within seconds of going for a run and pulling up. So there's definitely risk involved there. What do I think in terms of the game on Sunday? I'm quite. I think it is a good time to probably play them. But, they haven't quite settled. I was pleased with our performance. We've got stuff to build on. Again, we're going to be a bit worried about particularly, our defensive display and how sharp these players are. But yeah, why not? I think it'll be a decent atmosphere. Hopefully, there's some decent weather and Molyneux can get behind them. But you never know, do you? Really? But you've got to look with the difficult start that we've got. You've got to be looking to try and pick up points somewhere. And any game at home, we've seen in the past that on our day we can compete with anybody. We competed with Arsenal for a very good spell of that game. So Chelsea are not as good as Arsenal, are they? And they're a bit unsettled at the moment. So we'll see. But the really heartbreaking thing will be if we lose to a late Pedro Neto goal, won't it? And that's the thing that everyone's thinking about, and it could feasibly happen.
Of course it will. I thought he looked quite good actually. When I watched a little bit of the Man City Chelsea game, I thought, he was doing what Pedro Neto does. Tom says, does Cunha go straight back in to start this weekend, this bank holiday weekend? We'll be on the train. We'll be drinking some beers. I've actually got Tuesday off as well, which is lovely, which I will need. Sandhurst Wolves says he looked well off the pace at Arsenal. What do you reckon?
I think he'll be in. Yeah, I think he'll be straight back in for Bellegarde. I would go quite aggressive with this one. 4-2-3-1, Cunha in behind Larson, and just go for it. And hopefully Cunha can be firing. Although he did look a bit off the pace and he missed that good chance. Hopefully he can provide us a goal.
Bailey, you making any changes?
Don't think I am immediately. No, stick with what we had. Give Cunha another run out.
Stephen says, I believe the panel's optimism may come back to haunt them concerning the Chelsea game. Jack, what do you reckon? I'll pass that one to you.
I wouldn't call it massive optimism, but it's saying
first time we've been called optimistic.
Yeah, I know, because we said that 2-0 defeat wasn't quite as bad as we thought it was going to be.
On a side note, I was talking to my girlfriend's brother the other day, and he went, Sam, what's it like being a Wolves fan when you do your podcast and stuff? And like, what do you talk about at the beginning of the season? Is it like whether you're going to avoid relegation? I was like, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. That's and he's like, do you never where's the excitement come from? I was like, staying in the league or potentially getting to Europe once every 40 years is enough for us, apparently. It seems to be the case. Michael says, drop Hwang and play Podence. I mean, that's something outrageous that I would say, but I mean, he's looked sharp in pre-season for spells, but I don't think it's enough to take Hwang away. Is it, Harry?
I would say no, but Hwang did okay at Arsenal. He put the cross in for Larson on that one. He had to go to dive, but while you're laughing, Jack, am I gone?
No, you're not gone. It's just a bit of a delay in it. It's
like my bad.
Just leave me out, lads. You lot carry on. You lot carry on.
Carry on.
Carry on.
Yeah, no, I would not put Podence in. I think Podence might be gone by the time we play Chelsea, or not long after. I can't see him sticking around. But I think Hwang had a good performance against Arsenal. So, yeah, I would keep it as it is, but put Cunha in for Bellegarde.
We will get into some transfer news or lack of it shortly, obviously. Bayliss, hit me with a prediction.
I think we're going to win it 2-1.
Dan has been optimistic. Don't tell Stephen. Jack?
I think 2-1 defeat, but we'll give it a good go. Pedro Neto, 90 plus 3.
You know, this is written in the stars. I'll try and go to Harry. Harry, have you got a score prediction for us?
1-1.
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, because I shouted it before you even asked.
Excellent. Oh, Celtic Rager says an optimistic Bayliss scares me. Yeah, it's very, very out of character. The betting news genuinely made me laugh last week. I mean, let's see if he can top it. Bayliss has got some bets for
Sadly, it's not as exciting this week. We've still a decent price. We're up sort of 3.5s. You could probably get 4s out there. I'm going to start with the optimism because I think that's the way to go this week. Little bet builder, which I quite like the look of. Wolves to win it. João Gomez to make 2 or more fouls. Chelsea's keeper to make 3 or more saves. And 8 Nori to get an assist. 41-1.
It's a big shout us having 3 shots for him to save.
I think we will.
Could happen.
Yeah. Couple of Wolves score costs. Strand Larson 2-1 Wolves 75-1.
Ooh, nice.
Rodrigo Gomez, who I quite liked when he got round the back. If he can cut back, he might grab a goal. 1-0 Wolves. Rodrigo Gomez to get the goal. 150-1.
Oh, that's good value.
And then 2-0 Chelsea. You know who gets the goal? 50-1.
Is it one any of the goals or both? Just one.
Sorry, first goal. Score cost.
Excellent. Perfect. Okay. Let's move on to transfers in and out. The first one I'll start with is the one that seems to be splitting opinion right down the middle between everybody. We have submitted a proposal apparently to sign the 26-year-old Arsenal and England goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale on loan with an option to buy next summer. That option has been rumoured at £24 million, although I did see something about a £6 million loan fee as well. So, I mean, it's an expensive goalkeeper potentially. Jack, you don't really like him at all, and goalkeeper isn't exactly a position that we were looking to fill.
So, firstly, I think that £6 million loan fee came from me in the WhatsApp chat when I was overreacting. So, I think I might be the source there. So, I apologise for that one. That might not be correct. What do I think of this one? Not a lot, to be honest. One, because I think if he comes in, it means Jose Sarr must be going. I think that's the only possible thing that's going to happen, and I don't want that to be the case. I know Jose Sarr has his issues and his blunders, his kicking sometimes, but I think overall, I think he's done very well since he came here. Yeah,
I'm mistaken if he can't fucking keep the ball on the pitch.
Can't save, he can't catch, he can't stop shots, but
good all-round goalkeeper.
No, I think he's done very well for us since he came in, particularly in that first season. But he's a good shot stopper, isn't he? And I like him. I like his connection with the fans, and he's done some good stuff for us. Aaron Ramsdale is a weird one because there's actually just lots just ticking it off as the things that I don't like. One, I don't like taking top 6 clubs hand-me-downs as a general rule. I don't think it works out very often. And we're taking the second choice keeper who, as soon as they signed that guy from Brentford, was just straight back on the bench. 2, I just don't like his attitude and the way he comes across on the pitch because he gets a bit too involved with the crowd. He tries to rile up fans. He gives it the big un in his short sleeve shirt, starts, shushing the away fans, rolling them up, and then makes a game-changing blunder and fetches the ball out of his net. So I don't think he's that focused, and I think he's a little bit immature just to watch him play. And it just winds me up. It wound me up when he was for Arsenal and the way he would celebrate against us, even though they're expected to beat us. And then you've got the Albion connection.
Right.
and
that's the elephant in the room, isn't it?
So there's a few things there, and I just don't think does bringing him in improve us. I don't think it does because I think he's got a mistake in him, and I don't know what everyone else thinks, but
let's have a look at the comments. So Radoslav says I don't think he's better than Sarr. Steve says if Sarr is off to Saudi, I would take Ramsdale. Tom says someone who openly said he can't concentrate for a whole game. I think it was actually himself on a podcast, and I don't know. I mean, Harry might be able to correct me on that one, but I'm sure he saw a pigeon. An interview with Ian Wright, I think. He saw a pigeon. Are you just chipping in with random stuff at the moment?
No, I know. Like, I'm just trying to. Yeah, he apparently he said he sometimes he looks up and sees a pigeon and gets distracted. That's what he said, something like that.
Brilliant.
Right. Okay. Excellent. I mean, to be fair, Bailey. So, what do you think? Because I think everything that Jack said is correct. However, I would push back on the fact that of the notion of hand-me-downs from top 6 clubs, and this isn't even about that, because I can give you 2 goalkeepers who've gone on to do fairly decent things after leaving Arsenal. One of them is Bernd Leno, who's done fairly well at Fulham and gone on to do other things, and the other one is Martinez. You know, he goes and wins the World Cup, that does wonders with Aston Villa, signs a new deal today. So, you know, I don't think Arsenal number 2s are necessarily that bad.
And I think that's a very well constructed, solid set of arguments, but you've all missed the point that he's an absolute complete and utter prick.
It takes one to know one. Who does he remind you of?
I just don't like him.
Was he nasty to you?
Just every time Wolves have played against him or any comment I've heard him make, I just think he's a bit of a prick. Not the good sort either. Not even like the Mosquera, like
not a
shit house. Like everyone likes a shit house. No, he's a knob. Don't want him. Move on.
Yeah, well, there's sentiment there in that Stephen says, not sure Ramsdale should be a priority. I mean, but then Sandhurst Wolf says we've got Dawson who used to play for Albion, which leads us actually nicely on to Darragh O'Shea, the Burnley defender. 25-year-old came through the ranks at West Brom, making 107 appearances for Sandwell Town. He's actually played in the Claret's first 2 championship games, and he actually scored in a 4-1 win over Luton. It's rumoured that Brentford are also interested. I think a price tag, Harry, of £15 million has been put on his head. It seems to be round about the right amount of money. I mean, we all sort of sniggered a little bit or raised an eyebrow when Bailey said we'll have back 20 million to spend. It transpires from John Percys at Telegraph that that's probably not too far from the truth.
Yeah, so that's our budget blown. If we get him, then that's it. Get him in, and that's our business done. I can't believe that article. I'm sure we'll talk about it more, but don't know much about the player. But we definitely need a centre half in, and if our scouts want him, get him. We need some bodies at the back.
Well, no, I think you're right. But all the players that we seem to be linked with at the moment seem to be, obviously, apart from O'Shea, is not in those positions, because another one is Wisser at Brentford. Brentford have said they don't want to sell him. He actually scored against Palace, didn't he, in their opening day victory. So it all probably depends on Ivan Toney and what happens with him, because there are rumours that he might go to Saudi Arabia. I don't know why he's going to do that at 28, 29 years old. Doesn't really make any sense.
We all know why. Well,
it's let's be honest. It's for the lifestyle. It's for the generational wealth.
It's for the £400,000 a week that he's going to get paid, isn't it? That's a lot of bets. Like, Bet365's share price will jump up overnight if he goes to Saudi Arabia.
Can you gamble in Saudi Arabia? I mean,
I don't think you do anything really. No. Just sit there on your bed of cash and do nothing.
Do nothing. Oh dear. Another one that these who are leaving now. Obviously, Keanu Hoover's gone to Auxerre on a season-long loan. I'm shocked he's still here. I mean, I didn't really get that. I'm not really a big fan of him. And we talk about bad attitudes, Dan. I don't know if he's maturing as a player behind the scenes and it's taken him a little bit longer. Obviously, he was quite young when he came here, 16, 17 years old. But, he's in his 4th year, or well into his 4th year now with Wolves. So, I mean, do you back that move? Or do you think it was just time to just sell him? Because he signed a contract extension at the same time, which I suppose protects the asset.
I think it's more about trying to get some value back out the asset rather than having to let him go for nothing. And they've probably cut his wages.
So,
nothing wrong with it. I mean, there's some interesting things going on in our chat. Carrot Rangers actually pulled out a player that I would love to sign, Wisser from Brentford. What else have we got that's actually...
I just spoke about him.
Sorry.
We switched off for that one. We have a whole breakdown of that then.
I was actually...
do you want to delay?
Serious?
Did an hour in Ramsdale then, didn't you?
These fucking pigeon fly through your living room or something. What was that about? Literally just a massive breakdown.
Sorry.
Even I heard that, Bailey. Listen, I'm on a 4-minute delay.
High quality content
Christ.
here, folks. Sorry.
Anyway, what were you going to say?
I was trying to think of other bits of sort of dead wood that we can get rid of, as well as Hoover.
Fucking
I
you off
can't-
this podcast.
Yeah.
One of you has got no interest. The other one of you is not listening. It's supposed to get better, and we're on year 5 now, and the standard's going way down.
Oh God.
Good.
Anyway,
Next topic.
Harry, Saudi Pro League club Al
Yes.
Shabab are interested in Daniel Podence. Been no bids yet, but he could leave Molineux before the end of the transfer window. He had 45 games for Olympiacos, scoring 15 times. Pretty good return.
Yeah, and I think if we do sell Podence, Guedes, or Fabio, I'm sorry if you've already mentioned this, but obviously we'll use those funds apparently, as well as the 20 million that has been made available. I don't know if you're going to go on to it, Sam, but we've got to talk about this sell to buy and all that. Like, it's every year now we're getting a bit of deja vu, aren't we, with Jeff Shee moving the goalposts. He said last August, he was quoted as saying, if we sell those that window, we're going to have so much more health in terms of spending this window. We've got 90 million in, and here we are again, spending half of what we've brought in. Is this going to happen every year? Because if it does, we're going to end up getting relegated.
Yep.
There was a comment earlier from Steve, says Newcastle's owners are absolutely loaded and not lacking ambition, but they are strangled by PSR rules. Why are Fosun immune to PSR and simply being too tight to spend and lack ambition?
Because Fosun have to make their money through their ventures, whereas the Saudi investment stuff, dig a hole in the ground, black stuff comes out of it, and then they make loads of money. So they're just going to churn and churn and churn, whereas Fosun are actually a structured international business that have got to make some cash. And at the moment, they aren't going to spend it on the Wolves.
Jack, bring in that.
Yeah, I mean, Dan is correct. He usually is correct when it comes to topics about money. But it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I get that's why some fans are getting frustrated. And I think the messaging and the way it's come across, basically, they get upset more about the contradiction. And you can see quotes that Jeff said 6-8 months ago saying, we'll be over that financial fair play hurdle next summer. We can do this and that. And then, although I was pleased we brought players in early, we still sold players as well. And when you lose, your best players, and Neto is one of our best players, I still think, I think both deals, the Kilman deal and the Neto deal, were both deals that we should definitely have considered and taken. I think overall, they were good for us, but the fans then expect an influx of cash and them to be replaced. And when that doesn't happen, even if you are still in the process of balancing the books, there's going to be unrest. But I know a lot of people have seen are calling for Fosun out and these sorts of things, but I'm not in that camp. I think since they've taken us over, they've run us quite smartly and brought us to a level that we weren't at before and still competing. So we've got to give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit. I will start to lose faith if we don't sign a centre back before the window closes. But at the same time, it's difficult to have to be able to compete and just inject cash every year, and it's not something you can do and be sustainable unless, like Dan says, you've just got really, really deep pockets through your owners and they're willing to just write off massive losses, like the likes of potentially Newcastle, Chelsea, to whoever it is. So it's a difficult one to take. But I don't think it was ever going to be the case where we sold Neto and Kilman for the best part of 100 million and then spent 100 million on players. I think that was a little naive if people were thinking that was going to happen. There's still also a little bit of looking backwards rather than forwards and trying to settle for past periods.
Dan, what do you think of the Brentford forward Wissa?
Very good. I don't think it's a case of a company owning or not. It's a case of either an ownership is in it for fun and want to win stuff and they'll just throw cash, or it's a business owned sort of venture or set of assets or whatever it is. And we are very much now in the one camp. But I think when Fosun came in, it was spun within the press as, Gao Gang chat. Sorry, I'm going to murder the name here. But the boss of Fosun, Gao, was here to spend his money on Wolves, and we had this sort of heady heights of what we could achieve. That isn't the case. They're being run as a corporate entity to make money or potentially make money when they look to sell it. And what we really need, if we want to go to the next level, we've got to go into an owner that wants it for the fun. And you've got to realise that it could all go to shit within a week. And we're in Division 5 million. But I don't know what I'd rather have, because it is quite sustainable, and they're not running it well, and they're not making the fans particularly happy, but we're in the Premier League and we compete.
Can I say something if I'm not on delay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, a lot of people saying that article as well is that comment you just got up a minute ago from Gaz. People are saying it's a strategy for us to not show how much money we're willing to spend, so we get players cheaper. We say this every single summer, and it's never the truth. Jeff Shee every year lies. He lied in all his emails that he was replying to people with, saying we're going to get 2 strikers in and things like that. And we do it every year. Lopetegui left the club because of it. Nuno left the club because of it, allegedly. Bruno Lage used to moan about it. Gary O'Neill even said in his post-match press conference after Arsenal, we need senior Premier League players. And I don't think we're going to get them. I think we're going to get a young, potential 20-year-old centre-back in. And all I want is a bit of ambition. We are run well. I agree with Jack. We're run well. But we're going to end up lingering, and then it's going to catch up with us, and we're going to get relegated if we keep doing this summer on summer. That's my opinion on it.
I think it's a good point. But on the flip side, Jack, we've got Chelsea this weekend, and their fans are in turmoil. They hate the hierarchy. They hate the owners because they're signing too many players. Now, I'm not saying it has to be all or nothing, but isn't football weird where you can end up signing too many players and people are unhappy, or you can be signing a minimal amount of players, because it's not like we've signed nobody. I mean, look at Liverpool. Liverpool haven't signed any players in this transfer window.
No, Chelsea have got that thing, haven't they, where they got good for a few years, very good, particularly, under Abramovich and Mourinho, and they won things that they, weren't doing a few years before. And then with that comes the level of expectation. And, money's nothing if you don't spend it well. And I've said they've spent £1 billion mostly on absolute dross. And that's okay for financial fair play. They can do what they want. That's why I hate it being called financial fair play, because it's not that. But I agree with what people are saying as well, with the fact that Darren said a few times they've made promises on, trying to compete in 10 years, trying to do these different things. But I think it also goes back to Jeff as well, with what I was saying. I think he's just a little naive in what he says sometimes, and he says things to get him through that day, rather than actually thinking long term. Because I think when they came in as well, they didn't know anything about football, did they? So to say, that we're going to get promoted and be challenging for the Premier League in 10 years is quite a naive thing to say when you're just taking over a Wolves team, which has spent, the majority of the last 30 years in the second tier of English football. So it's a difficult one. And I do think they need to just sometimes reel Jeff in a little bit, because as Harry said as well, with those emails towards the end of last season, or in the season break, that was a sort of an insight into that, isn't it? Like sometimes you just need to just say, Jeff, it's better just to say nothing rather than say this.
I don't know what you're on about, Jack. I mean, he was the scout for Fabio Silva. He was right about him, so I think Jeff knows a lot about football.
That's the thing.
Knows more than us.
Yeah, he does.
Teams in around us spending money. Sativa Breeder says Forest about to buy Nketiah. I haven't seen that rumor, but I would take him all day long. Breuer to Ipswich. It seems like a lot of money for somebody who hasn't really done the business. Although Ipswich are being linked with these kind of players, and we're sort of trundling along, going, we'll get this, like Harry said last week. These Portuguese or South American kids for $4.5 million, and see what happens. Let's go round the group. Start with you, Harry. Do you think we will sign anybody between now and the end of the transfer window?
We'll sign one player, I think, and we'll sell like Pedence or something. That's all I think will happen.
Jack?
I was going to say one as well. I think it could be 2 if we end up in that Ramsdale situation. So I hope it's 1. And I hope it's just a centre back, and then I'll be reasonably happy with the transfer business that's been done, just depending on who that centre back is, to be honest. But if we're coming back once the window's shut, and what we've done is we've just sold Jose Sarr, maybe a couple of the other fringe players, and brought in Ramsdale for massive wages, I won't be very happy. So it's fine margins, isn't it?
It's fine margins. Bayliss?
Yeah, I had 1 in my mind. 1 in, maybe 1 or 2 out.
Do you like a Guedes?
Can I just?
Yeah, go on.
Can I just say, sorry, Sam? I really trust Matt Hobbs, though. Although I've just slagged Jeff off for ages, I think we're in good hands with Matt Hobbs and Gary O'Neill. It's not their fault, is it? Jeff Shee, man, he's distanced himself. You can't even get hold of him now. He's nowhere near Wolverhampton. He just like rings Matt Hobbs every now and then, tells him what to tell Gary O'Neill by the looks of it. So Matt Hobbs, with him at the helm, I'm pretty happy that he'll do best with what we've got available. I mean, he was the one who found Kilman, and we signed him for about 20 grand and sold him for 40 million. So he's definitely got an eye for a player, and hopefully he can do good business like he did with Dawson. That was a great deal when we got Dawson in a few Januaries ago.
I think that's all it takes, and it makes such a difference when you have, shockingly in this league, players with a lot of Premier League experience do a lot better. It just seems obvious, doesn't it? What do we think, Jack, of the future of Santi Bueno?
Yeah, it's well, interesting one, isn't it? Because you'd really fancied him to be one of the people in line to come in and replace, because he's played in the Premier League before. I think he's done well. We spent how much was it? It was decent money. It wasn't nothing, was it? That we spent.
I think it was. I think it was
double
under 10,
figures.
but yeah, well, we're okay.
Okay. I could be wrong. Someone in the comments will know, but it wasn't chicken feed, was it? So. And on the times that he has come in, I think he's done all right, really. But, the fact that I know Mosquera's done well on loan and, he impressed as well, must be impressed in training. I'm not sure, really, because it's an interesting one, because you'd expect to sort of revert back to the players with the most Premier League experience who've been an established part of the squad. But, I don't know, really. I don't know what the future holds for him.
Harry, another transfer that caught my eye, mainly because I thought it would be hilarious if we actually did get it over the line, just because I think it would be a great signing, but also because it would just be another Gomez to add to the roster. Joe Gomez at Liverpool potentially looking to offload him. Could be a deal around £30 million, probably out of our price range, but somebody who can play all the way along the back four. His best position is arguably centre-back. He's comfortable at either backs, probably more on the left-hand side. Seems like a potential one. But like I say, if you can get Guedes and Podence out the door, investing that sort of money, if the transfer kitty is 20 at the moment, it doesn't seem like bad business to me.
Yeah, I mean, but like we said last week when you mentioned the Zaha one, it's just not a Fosun signing, is it? They won't spend that much money on one player who's established in the Premier League, unfortunately, but I would have him. On Santi, I think he will go out on loan when if we do sign a centre-back. I think he wants to play. And at the moment, he's fourth choice, isn't he? I think O'Neill, he's Mosquera and Totti are his main ones, and Dawson is the replacement before Santi. So, and it don't look like we're going to be playing five at the back. So I can understand why Santi would probably want to go out on loan, which is a shame because he did all right, didn't he, in a few games last year. Had a dodgy debut against Ipswich, but was quite solid for his other performances. So a strange one, that.
Saying that, though, I'll be shocked if we don't see the back five at some point this season. It always happens, I think. So I think we need the option there. We need enough players to be able to facilitate that.
I think a lot of the time it does come down to injuries as well. I mean, if you're short up top, then it could be a back five is your only option. I mean, our injury record last season was horrible. So, you could see that happening, just not out of choice. Dan, do you think Dawson is being left out for tactical reasons, falling out of favour, or do you think it's just because he hasn't got the minutes?
He's not fit. You'd start him, wouldn't you? He's our best defender, so he's clearly not fit.
And who would you start him with? Because probably before last week, I said Totti, but now it's Mosquera, isn't it?
Yeah, Mosquera now. Yeah.
Interesting. We shall see what happens. One final thing, just to get your thoughts on. I don't know if you've seen it today. It was the PFA Men's Team of the Year. So it's chosen by the players. Weirdly, there was more Arsenal players than Man City players. So you had Raya in goal, Kyle Walker, Van Dijk, Saliba, Gabriel, Odegaard, Rodri, Rice, Haaland, Foden, and Watkins. Does that sound about right to everybody? Would there be anybody that should come in?
They left out Dazzling Dave.
I
can't believe Whistler isn't in here. Have you heard of him? He plays for Brentford. He's a forward player.
I was going to say, where's Lamina? But yeah, there we go. Sounds about right, doesn't it?
It's a great segue there, Dan, though, to be fair. Great segue for the pitch about... Yeah.
Tell you
Thank
what,
you.
that's professional. That's not even you've been doing a podcast for 5 years, Jack. Yeah, I might as well mention it again. 7-a-side charity game, 7th of September at Molineux. Just Giving. Go on Dazzle's page, you'll find it. If you live nearby, you can pay a £5 and come and watch. But actually, I shouldn't say that I don't recommend it because obviously it's more money for charity, but it would be a painful watch, trust me. We were falling over the ball last year. We come last. We scored 2 goals in 4 games, but we've got a few different players this year, so we might be a bit tasty. So yeah, come down.
We had to
Just
rely
Giving.
on a retired pop star and a kids' TV presenter.
He's
to
like, he
score
scored
our
our only goals. Mark Rhodes scored our only goals of the
With
day.
that bad.
It just sounds like watching Wolves, though, doesn't it? It's like 2 goals in 4 games. It will be a painful watch, but we've got some new players this season, so who knows?
That's true. Although the new players bit, maybe not. Excellent. Right, okay. We will leave that there for another week. It is, of course, the bank holiday weekend. So if you're going to Molineux on Sunday or watching it wherever you may watch it, then do enjoy yourself and be safe. I know that me and Harry will probably be doing that. Probably won't work out quite that way, but we'll say goodbye to Harry Mansell.
Yes, goodbye. Sorry for the slight delay at the beginning, but I seem to have caught up now. Enjoy your weekend.
Just as we're finishing, excellent. It's goodbye to Dan Bayliss.
Goodbye.
And Jack Williams.
Goodbye, everybody.